If you're looking for a muscle-building masterpiece that will have you flexing like a champ in no time, grab some Jocko Mo protein. Packed with premium-grade protein, it is your ticket to Gain City, baby. Oh, clean up on aisle 5. This is going to be very interesting. From my perspective, I will be very interesting. PR, how they play, Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul. So it made big headline news in the .coms that run the free format fighting systems that we all live in. Mike Tyson taken off a plane for medical reasons. All right, great. So PR play number 1 is somebody got the bright idea to release what the ailment Mike Tyson was suffering. And it was the activation of an ulcer. Okay. Now, whether it was the activation of an ulcer or not, we don't know. This was put out, though, to the world as a PR move to cover the fight between Tyson and Paul. For sure. Like a person's medical business is nobody else's. You would never need to answer for that. You would not owe anybody. If the commission, for example, wanted to come and ask you privately, get answers, they heard a rumor, which this is nothing more than. That is very possible, but that's not the route that we went down. Immediately, in conjunction with the information coming out that Mike Tyson was removed from an airplane for medical reasons, within hours comes the answer of a flared-up ulcer. So I'm sharing with you which direction do you go with it. What do? You got 3 different ways to look at it. What if you're the event organizer, right? What is the story to protect your interests, which is preserving the integrity of this fight? Which direction do you go? And before you go in that direction, can you get the other 2 idiots to go along with it? Which is highly unlikely. Okay, great. Now you've got to look at it from a perspective of Mike Tyson, where people are saying he's too old to begin with, or he's not taking it seriously, or he's not training, or was this an exhibition? And now all of a sudden it's not an exhibition, it's an actual fight, which means the government is going to regulate it, and they've decided to sign off and say that everything's great. I mean, right, like you just got this story, and you've got a number of things that you're up against. I'm sharing this from Tyson's perspective. Like, none of that's wrong. I'm just letting you know as you attempt to answer the question of what do you do from the world of PR, right? The play is already being made, which is it was a flare-up of an ulcer. Maybe it was. Maybe it wasn't. That isn't all the point. The point that has come out, whether that's accurate or inaccurate, the fact that has come out is the first move that has been made. Now, do you leave it at that? Before you think, okay, great. Hey, chill. Everything's fine. The integrity of the event is preserved. This fight isn't till over a month away. One has nothing to do with the other. Okay, fair enough. If you're in Mike Tyson's shoes of telling the story of how I can beat this young kid in his 20s while I couldn't even get up and leave an airplane, I had somebody come onto the airplane, whatever the reason, I could not stand up and get off of an airplane. While you're trying to tell that story publicly, don't forget you then have a third person who you have to satisfy, which is Paul. And that's your big problem. That's your biggest problem with whatever story you're putting out about the ulcer, whether it's accuracy or inaccuracy. The hardest one here is Paul. And Paul is holding a lot of the cards for one significant reason. This isn't a one-off for him. Regardless of the outcome of this, Paul is coming back. Paul is expected to come back. He has more nights in front of him. So if you have a disposable player, it's the one that you don't have in the future. It's one of the most important reasons as a fighter when you're about to call it, you don't ever tell anyone you're about to call it. You never reveal, this is my last one. All right, great. So if you're in Paul's situation and he's had to fend off left and right, he's got a very hard challenge in front of him. Paul has always had a hard challenge in front of him. Then as the rules start coming out, every single rule that has been put into place here is to favor Tyson and go against Paul. Right? 8 rounds does not favor Paul. 2-minute rounds does not favor Paul. So I'm just sharing, as you're having to adapt rules while fending off, people are saying you're fighting a guy you shouldn't be in there with for whatever reason, in this case, his age. you now are going to also have an answer as to why you think it's okay to go in there and fight somebody who could not stand up and walk off of an airplane. For whatever medical reason that was, they could not stand up and walk off of an airplane. And it becomes tricky. I'm not sure what they're going to do. Here, I can tell you what they should not do. What they should not do is what I also predict for you to a degree they're going to do, which is a cover story. I see so many times that somebody tries to get cute with an audience. And there is nothing that an audience enjoys more than seeing through BS and pointing out why it's BS. Like, they enjoy that. They love to watch the magician go and do the card trick. But what they're really hoping for is that they can see the ace under his sleeve and tell someone, did you see it? That was it. Did you see what he did here? This is how he pulled it out. There's nothing that brings them more enjoyment. So, if you're going to go into a situation of trying to explain why we're going to have a sanctioned fight in 5 weeks with a gentleman that dealt with a medical issue that was made public, and you attempt to downplay what that issue was, that is going to be your biggest problem. And if we're purely speaking in the world of PR, if you're Iron Mike Tyson, well, you got the world by the balls right now. You couldn't be in a better spot. You could not possibly have a better spot for one, the built-in excuse, which every fighter looks for. They just try to pull that off on you guys like it's not. Every single fighter at every single press conference you've ever seen has put something down that is to begin to tell a story in case they get defeated. Your biggest hero and the bravest amongst us, if you go back and you watch those press conferences and you know what you're listening for, all of them will lay some kind of a feather in of a nest in case they fall so they could come back to it later and go, well, it's like I told you guys last week and I thought I could overcome it. Whew, did my best. I'm a warrior. I never pull out fights. I never have. And, it's like I told you 3 days before all of them, they all make this. So Tyson has this excuse. Great. Sooner or later, Paul will have his too. When I tell you all of them, it's not as 100%. So now Tyson has it, but Tyson has something better, which is instead of attempting to downplay it or look the other way, or act as though he's got the bravado to see it through, he's got a chance where he really can. He's actually in a position where he can show the world that you can overcome, that what's going to happen tomorrow isn't based on what happened today. That whether or not I had an ulcer that kept me in my seat, this young kid over here with the weird hairdo and all the YouTube followers, he can't put me down. He can't put me down on my best day, and I'm not at my best day, and he still can't put me down. He didn't have the courage and the abilities and the skill set to make me quit, ever. Even when things were going well, let alone will he have that ability when things are not. And you might not think that that's the most wonderful hand that you're dealt, but that's the position that Tyson is in. He's in a very good position to show that bravado that the world does not belong to younger guys with YouTube followings. That some people can stand their ground and fight it out whether they feel like it or not. I don't think he owes anybody an explanation or an apology. I have a tremendous fear that dum-dums who he's entrusted are going to step in front of him with a message attempting to cover this. And that, I'm telling you now, is going to be a big problem.